I was born in tumultuous times, but it was courage that pulled us through. My parents married in Cuba, and little did they know that within months of marriage, they had to escape Cuba. My grandfather had been a political prisoner. The Cuban Revolution had triumphed, and we had to escape. This is the picture of them when they were married. He was a medical student, 4 years. She was the first woman to graduate from seminary from the Episcopal Church. They had met, and then everything fell apart. My grandfather was imprisoned. They had to leave Cuba. They had to leave everything they knew behind. Even their wedding presents, unpacked, were left behind. They went to Sewanee, Tennessee, in the Deep South in the 1960s. And my father received a calling from God to serve people. He became a priest. Don't worry, priests can get married in the Episcopal Church. He decided to be a force for good, and the entire family began this life of service. After they could not go back to Cuba, we ended up in Quito, Ecuador, as missionaries. Now, my parents never shielded us from witnessing poverty, from serving. It was a life full of adventure. We traveled around the country, going into the jungles, preaching and starting churches in very inhospitable places, but always the example of my parents, serving the community, becoming engaged with people all over the country. We added 2 more people to our crew. That's my sister Lily and my brother Onel. After we moved from Ecuador, we moved to El Salvador in Central America. My father was named the executive director of the Episcopal Church for that area. He traveled constantly, and we added 1 more to our crew. We are 4 kids. That's my sister Elena. Political strife began again in our lives. The civil war in El Salvador happened, and we were pulled out within a month after my whole adolescence spending time in El Salvador. I still go back once in a while. My father was a pioneer in communications. He invented Twitter before Twitter existed. He had a newsletter called Rápidas that became global. It was small news capsules about the Protestant churches in all of Latin America. After we got yanked out of El Salvador, we ended up in Montclair, New Jersey. My father was working in New York City as an executive for the Episcopal Church. We bought an old house, and we never forgot the struggle of getting my grandfather out of Cuba. He traveled around the world. Here he is with Pope John Paul. He became a global figure in communications, a gifted photographer with such joy. If you know Ricky Ricardo, that's kind of like my dad. He would just be a joyful thing. Then he was elected Bishop of Venezuela. And my parents went to Venezuela to build churches, to bring up the local leadership, and to really bring service. To close the loop, my grandfather was released from prison after 20 years. This is the moment where my aunt greets him. We struggled for 20 years. We did not give up, and we got him out of Cuba. I was already in college when he was released from Cuba. The greatest love of my father was my mother. They even coordinated their outfits. But it was a team. They did not go anywhere without each other. And my mother to this day says, "Es la gran bendición de mi vida." It's the greatest blessing in my life, and it's a blessing to all of us. Now, growing up as Soto, it was a responsibility to serve others. This is how we grew up. So the four of us have chosen paths to serve our community. We are a family of change makers, each one of us in our own right. This is my sister Lily. She was the CEO of the Girl Scouts for 18 years, and now she does environmental justice as the CEO of a national organization called the Student Conservation Association. And she's done many, many things to bring love, bring progress to our people. This is my brother Onel, who was an award-winning journalist. He won 2 Pulitzer Prizes and then left journalism. Went to school at night and became a public defender. And so he lives in Sacramento, California. Also a path of serving those that don't have a voice. And the youngest one of us is Elena. Elena is a teacher, and she teaches in Sacramento, California, immigrant kids, and really brings the love and the service of serving as a teacher. So the four of us, the life and the example has brought us to my own journey. As I graduated college and worked in the favelas, then I traveled around the world representing the church. I have built clinics, I have founded schools, and now I have my dream job being the director, creating and building new change makers in our own community. And the story doesn't end there. These are our kids, all the kids, and they are all change makers. They all are on a path of service. So I invite you all to pick your path of service. Find where you can give. Thank you very much.